Imagine the last hour of a day that no one will record, no meeting to attend, no message waiting, no one watching how you spend it. The room is quiet. The decision is entirely yours. What do you do with it? Not what you intend to do, not what you would tell someone if they asked. What do you actually do, right now, in that hour, when there is no audience and no consequence visible to the outside world? That single question is the whole of Stoic character philosophy compressed into practical form. Not what you proclaimed, not what you were seen to do, what you did when it did not matter to anyone but you. And here is the truth. The ancient Stoics understood with uncomfortable precision. It always matters. The private hour is not a rest from being who you are. It is the moment when you most fully become it. Teaching 1. Character is built where no one looks. Cleanthes of Assos was the second head of the Stoic school after Zeno, and he arrived at philosophy by an unusual road. He came to Athens with almost nothing. To pay for his studies, he worked through the night, hauling water at a garden, grinding grain before dawn, and spent his days in the company of the greatest minds of his generation. He did not perform philosophy. He lived it when no one was awarding him credit for it. This is the detail that matters. The discipline Cleanthes practiced in those pre-dawn hours, unseen and unrewarded, was not separate from his philosophy. It was his philosophy in its purest form. The Stoics held a principle that most people accept intellectually and then spend their lives violating. Virtue is not a display. It cannot be achieved through reputation management, public statement, or the careful construction of an impressive image. It is either present in the private moment, or it is not present at all. Reputation is borrowed from the opinion of others. It can be given, and it can be taken. Character is owned. It accumulates in exactly those hours when no approval is available, when the grain still needs grinding before anyone is awake to notice, when the hour is empty and the only question is what you choose to do with it. Teaching 2. Seneca and the Examined Evening. Seneca wrote, in letters that carry the weight of a man examining his own failures more honestly than most people examine their successes, that he made a practice of reviewing each day before sleep, not cataloguing accomplishments, not rehearsing grievances, a precise and unsentimental account of what he had actually done versus what he had intended. He described this not as a pleasant ritual, but as a necessary one. He called it giving testimony to himself. This phrase deserves to sit with you for a moment. Testimony. The word carries legal weight. It implies that something is being adjudicated, that evidence is being assessed, and a conclusion reached that cannot be appealed by charm or deflection. Seneca was not suggesting an evening journal entry designed to make you feel better about your day. He was describing a practice of honest self-prosecution. What did I say I would do? What did I actually do? Where did I choose comfort over what I knew to be right? Where did I perform patience for an audience while feeling contempt in private? The Examined Evening is not about guilt. Seneca was not interested in self-punishment. He was interested in accuracy. You cannot correct a navigation error if you refuse to acknowledge you have left the intended course. The private review, unsentimental, precise, regular, is the instrument that keeps the inner life calibrated. Without it, the gap between who you intend to be and who you actually are grows quietly and continuously until it becomes too wide to cross without extraordinary effort. Teaching 3. The performance that poisons. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with physical tiredness. You may have felt it. The fatigue of maintaining a version of yourself that requires constant management. The weight of the image you have constructed for a particular audience, colleagues, friends, even family, and the private knowledge that the image and the reality have grown apart. This gap is not a minor inconvenience. The Stoics identified it as a source of profound inner corruption. Not because dishonesty toward others is wrong, though they believe that too, but because the energy required to maintain the performance is drawn from the same reserve you need for genuine development. A man who spends his private hours reinforcing the public image has no private hours left for actual improvement. He is not building character. He is repainting the exterior while the interior quietly deteriorates. Musonius Rufus, the Roman Stoic, who taught that philosophy without practice is mere decoration, made a blunt observation about this. He said that the person who behaves one way before others and another way when alone has already divided themselves against themselves. The division is not between their public self and their private self. The division is between the self they are performing and the self they are actually becoming through the choices they make in private. Those two trajectories will eventually diverge beyond recovery unless the private hours are taken seriously. Teaching 4. The Stoic doctrine of the inner witness. The Stoics spoke of something they called the inner witness, the part of rational consciousness that observes your own choices with the same clarity you would apply to a stranger's behavior. Not judgment designed to produce shame. Observation designed to produce accuracy. When you watch another person make a self-destructive choice, filling every quiet moment with distraction, avoiding difficult conversations, constructing elaborate explanations for why their failures are always caused by external forces, you can see the pattern clearly. You can see what they cannot, because you are outside the performance and they are inside it. The inner witness is the capacity to observe your own life with that same outside clarity, to see the distraction for what it is, to see the avoidance for what it avoids, to see the story you are telling yourself about your progress, and ask honestly whether the evidence supports it. This is not a natural skill. It requires practice. It requires specifically those quiet, unobserved hours when no performance is necessary and honest observation becomes possible. The person who never sits with themselves, who fills every private hour with noise, stimulation, and motion, is not resting. They are preventing the inner witness from doing the only work that actually matters. They are keeping themselves safe from the one observer they cannot deceive. Teaching 5. What you build in private is what holds in public. Here is where the philosophy becomes unambiguous. Everything the Stoics taught about facing adversity, managing difficulty, maintaining composure under pressure, speaking truthfully when it costs something, all of it depends on a foundation that can only be constructed in private. The composure Marcus Aurelius displayed in public crisis was not manufactured in the moment of crisis. It was assembled over years of private examination. The clarity Epictetus expressed in his teaching was not improvised for the classroom. It was earned in the silence of a life that had given him every reason to abandon composure and had found him choosing otherwise, again and again, in the hours no one witnessed. Public strength is almost always private discipline made visible. And private discipline is almost always the product of choosing the harder option in those unobserved hours when the easier option was entirely available. What you do when no one is watching is not a small thing. It is not a warm-up for the real performance. It is the real performance. It is the one that counts when the pressure arrives, because pressure does not create character. It reveals the character that private hours have been quietly assembling all along. The question is not whether you will face a moment that tests what you are made of. The question is what you have been making yourself of in the hours before that moment arrives. Not the hours when someone was watching, the hours when the room was empty. The choice was entirely yours, and the only witness was the one you carry everywhere and cannot leave behind. Begin there, everything else follows. If this moved you, comment the Citadel holds below. It is our sign that you carry the philosophy with you. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.